How to get rich. I'm Nate, the FitFutureMD. I lost 30 pounds in 30 days. Make sure you pick up the free fitness and nutrition guide in the description below if you're interested. So when you go into this question of how to get rich, right? You say you go to study, the rich versus the poor. Well, what makes someone poor? What makes someone rich? Right? So to be rich, you got to do things differently than the poor, right? So you figure out, well, what does the poor do that the rich doesn't do, right? And that brings you into defining rich and poor. And the truth is there are people out there with super high incomes that are still poor, right? I'm saying they're living a decent quality of life, but at the end of the day, if that high income stops, they're done. They're in the poorhouse, right? And when I talk about poor, those are really that's really the poor that I'm talking about. I'm not really talking about people with disabilities or people that are destitute, that can't work, or for whatever reason, they may need help, right? And that's a whole different debate on how much you should help them or not. But so to me, you do the opposite of what poor people do, right? So poor people invest in things that go down in value. Rich people or wealthy people invest in things that go up in value, right? So, for example, yesterday was Valentine's Day, right? Now, every year, for as long as I can remember, I've gotten my Valentine, Meredith Johnson now, candy on Valentine's Day, right? So I'm sitting here thinking like, well, how much money do you think I've spent on candy, all these years? You're spending at least 20, 30 bucks on candy. Sometimes you're spending money on flowers, whatever. But it's like, how can I get on the opposite side, psychologically, how can I get on this opposite side of this consumerism, right? And I was like, well, let's see, what candy companies are public companies. And I sit there and I look and I see, oh, Hershey's is a publicly traded company. One of Meredith's favorite things is Reese's Pieces, right? Owned by Hershey's. So instead of, or you got Hershey's Kisses, all that kind of stuff, chocolate, right? So I go, well, let me buy her shares in Hershey's for Valentine's Day instead of going out and buying candy, right? And so that's what I did, right? I say, I've always gotten you candy. This year I give you ownership in a candy company. And that's what I did. But that's the difference between the mindset of a poor person and a mindset of a rich person, right? So, every quarter for ever, basically, because consumerism is not going to stop, right? People are always going to be consuming. She's going to be making money off of her candy, right? Off of her ownership in the candy company. And so not only you know, it's like it's giving you something that continues to give as time goes on. Well, you know, when you first start doing stuff like this, so I started doing this with silver, right? And as an investment, silver is, you know, something that is historically cheap compared to its historical average right now, right? So when you hear a silver bug say, you know, you should go buy silver, that's one of the reasons why, is because it's literally, you know, 60% off or 70% off of its historical average, right? But, and as they inflate the economy, you know, those prices may or may not go up, right? But I started it with silver, right? Because that's what I could afford. Like, hey, I could afford, you know, a $20 piece of silver, you know, and give that as a gift, or, you know, every week put $20 into silver till you have 52 pieces of silver, right? You know, stuff like that. So you start small, and over time, you know, number one, you build the habit of investing, right? But then number two, the investing itself compounds, where you're making money off of your investment, and that money is, so $20 becomes 30 becomes 40 becomes 50 becomes 100 becomes 1,000. You know, over time that it compounds to where your investments keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then all of a sudden, you know, you wake up and you're a millionaire, and you're making $60K a year on your investments, which has completely replaced your income, you know, from your job. And then you can choose, like, oh, is this job really what I want to do, or do I want to actually do something that may pay less but have a bigger impact on the planet, right? So I feel like that's another thing that is the difference between the poor and wealthy, right? Is a wealthy person thinks about, how can I help others around me? Whereas a poor person thinks like, well, how can I look best to the people around me, right? It's like a different reason to do stuff. And it's all psychology, right? It's all, you know, consumerism and, you know, stuff like that. So, and then the last thing that someone with a wealthy mindset or a rich mindset has compared to somebody with a poor mindset is that you spend time outside of your job bettering yourself, right? Or learning something, or you know, doing stuff to improve your mind, your body. You know, it's like, what are you doing with your time? What are you spending your time doing, right? So, you know, you see that a big portion of people that are CEOs, you know, that have ownership in companies, ownership in brands, you know, you'll see that they spend a lot of time reading. And it's not that they're reading for enjoyment. They're reading to solve a specific problem that they may or may not have, or that they are trying to solve for the world. You know, and some people, you know, eventually after you're doing that for so long, that compounds as well. Like your knowledge compounds, right? It's like the human brain is like the ultimate computer. It can continue to expand and build neurons and, you know, gain knowledge over time, so that eventually you're the one that is writing those books, right? You're the one that is actually pushing the envelope, you know, to help people behind you. Because there's one thing about, say you're climbing Mount Everest, right? Or a mountain that no one's climbed before. Yes, it's great to be at the top of that mountain, but at the end of the day, you're lonely at the top of the mountain, right? You don't want to be at the top of a mountain by yourself, right? You want to be up there with people that you love and that you care about, whether that's your wife, your family, your community, your church. So you really see people that are wealthy, and have a wealthy mindset, they really will give back to their community. And people that don't do that, they don't necessarily have that wealthy mindset. They may be rich, income wise, but like I say, it's about what you spend your time doing, right? So, invest in yourself, and better yourself so that you can help others, right? So invest in yourself, invest in people, invest your time, invest your money. Where you put your money is where your heart is, right? What you is what you love, right? So hope this helped you out, guys. When you're thinking about how do I become wealthy, you think about, well, what are wealthy people doing versus what are people that are not wealthy doing? And these are some of the things that I've come up with. Hope it helps you out. Let me know in the comments below what you think. And make sure you pick up that free fitness and nutrition plan in the description below if you're interested. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.